Okay, so recollection of the Dharma. This is the second of the 6 recollections that were taught by the Buddha as practices we can do to make our mind more peaceful, joyful, bright, and clear. And also, doing these practices purifies the defilements of the mind. So, the first of the 6 recollections is recollection of the Buddha, and I've talked about that in the last 2 BBCs. So, today I'll talk about recollection of the Dharma. But what exactly is the Dharma? So, this is a question that I had when I first went to Dharamsala in the early 70s, and I was going to classes at the Tibetan library, just starting to study Buddhism, and I kept hearing this word Dharma, and I didn't know what it meant. And then I had a chance to meet Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Um, One of his students was a friend of mine, and she told me that he was coming to Dharamsala and asked if I would like to meet him. So I said, sure. And I was very happy to have the chance to meet a Lama that I could talk to directly without a translator, because most Lamas didn't know English. So I decided to use that opportunity to ask, what is Dharma? And I think he talked quite a while. Unfortunately, I didn't have a tape recorder. I didn't even have a notebook. And so I don't remember most of what he said, and probably a lot of it was over my head anyway. But there was one thing he said that really stayed in my mind. I thought, wow, that's amazing. And so he said, Dharma is like a mirror. We use an ordinary mirror to look at our face and our body and our hair and, fix up anything that's out of place. But we can't see our mind in an ordinary mirror. But the Dharma is a mirror that enables us to look at our mind and see what in our mind is not good and needs to be cleaned up and fixed up. So I thought, wow, that sounds really cool. And as soon as I went home, I wrote it on a piece of paper and stuck it to the wall next to my bed because I wanted to remember that. But it also gave me a lot of interest to learn more about the Dharma because I really wanted to know about my mind and work on my mind. So the term Dharma actually has a number of different meanings. In fact, I think there's something like 10 different meanings to the word Dharma. One meaning is simply phenomena, things that exist. So we do use that word sometimes with a small d. Dharma with a small d means just things that exist, everything that exists. But when we have Dharma with a big D, capital D, um, then usually it refers to the teachings of the Buddha. So we say things like, I am studying Dharma, or she is giving a Dharma talk, or this is a Dharma book, I'm practicing Dharma. So when we use Dharma in those ways, then we're talking about the Buddha's teachings. And that is one meaning of Dharma with a big D. It's the generally accepted Dharma. But then there's the real Dharma, the actual Dharma. It's called the ultimate Dharma. And that refers to the last 2 of the 4 Noble Truths, which are true paths and true cessations. So true paths are realizations in the minds of highly accomplished beings, who we call Aryas. An Arya is someone who has attained the direct realization of emptiness, and that's a really important milestone of the path. So once you've gained that realization, you're an Arya, and that's the main true path, because it's that direct realization of emptiness that is able to eliminate from our mind the afflictions and other obscurations that prevent nirvana and enlightenment. So, a true path is that kind of realization. And then a true cessation is when, as a result of that realization, you're able to eliminate at least a portion of the afflictions and other obscurations such that they will never arise again. So, that again is quite a high accomplishment by these highly accomplished beings. And I don't know about you, but for me, that still seems quite far away. One day I'll get there, but I'm still a long way off. So for me, Dharma as the Buddha's teachings is more relevant, more acceptable, more something I can relate to. So now back to the whole point of recollection of the Dharma, recollecting the Dharma. What does that mean? So in volume 4 of the Library of Wisdom and Compassion, which is called Following in the Buddha's Footsteps, there is a verse from the Pali canon that goes, "The Dharma, well expounded by the Bhagavan, the Buddha, to be seen here and now, immediate, inviting one to come and see, applicable, to be personally experienced by the wise." So there's a number of different phrases there that we can contemplate in order to practice recollecting of the Dharma. And the book goes on to explain these different terms. The first term is well expounded. So this refers to the Buddha's teachings. And it means that the teachings are good in the beginning, in the middle, and the end. The beginning means the sutras usually start off with some explanation of where they took place and who was there. So it sort of gives a nice context for the teaching. And then the middle, so the main body of the sutra has a very clear meaning, and it uses examples we can relate to and reasons in order to prove what it is the Buddha is talking about. And then the end means that those who hear the sutra or study it afterwards will have benefit, will experience faith and probably joy, and will learn something that they can apply to their lives and benefit their lives. And so, also in general, the Dharma shows us how to live a good life, a meaningful life, and most importantly, how to overcome suffering and the causes of suffering and attain higher states like liberation and enlightenment, full awakening. And the second phrase is directly visible. And this refers to true paths and true cessations, the ultimate Dharma. Um, so these are things that can be experienced here and now directly when we abandon the mental obscurations. And this is actually something that happened when the Buddha was alive and teaching. Sometimes a person would meet the Buddha and listen to his teachings, and immediately, after that first teaching, they'd get it. Bing! they'd attain an insight into the true nature of things. So they'd attain a true path and a true cessation. But that's because they had done a lot of work beforehand. Their mind was ripe and ready for that kind of experience. And if that doesn't happen to us, it means, well, we haven't done that work, but we can. So now we are working on our mind, and then eventually at some point, we will have those realizations as well. And when that happens, then one experiences a lot of peace in the mind and also confidence. You're confident in what you know and what you experience. You don't have to rely on other people anymore telling you what is true. You know it for yourself. Immediate, the next term in that verse, again refers to the ultimate Dharma, true paths, true cessations. This brings immediate results. As soon as we have a direct realization of emptiness, in the next instant, a certain portion of our afflictions are eradicated from the mind such that they will never arise again. And then, as we continue to meditate on and familiarize ourselves with that realization, the other afflictions and their seeds, obscurations, and so on will be gradually eliminated forever. They will never arise again. So it's something very immediate. The next phrase is inviting one to come and see. So the Buddha invites us to check out what he's saying. He didn't want people to just blindly believe his words. Instead, he said, investigate this. Use your own intelligence, your discriminating wisdom to check if it's true or not, if it's beneficial or not. So we are invited to do that. The next term is applicable. And the way I think of that is the Dharma is applicable to our minds and our experiences, and in particular, our afflictive emotions that are so painful when they arise, and they also are the main cause of suffering. So this is one of the things I found really attractive about Buddhism. It contains actual methods, things you can use to deal with your anger, your depression, your anxiety, your attachments, and all this craziness in the mind. And it actually works. When you use these methods, they work. So they're very applicable to our life, our minds, our experiences. And if we continue practicing the Dharma, eventually we'll be able to achieve the actual Dharma, the real Dharma, the true paths and true cessations. And the last phrase in the verse is to be personally experienced by the wise. So again, that's a call to us to use our own wisdom, our discriminating intelligence, investigating, checking, thinking, is this true or not? Is this beneficial or not? And we can gain our own first-hand experience of the results of the Dharma. So that's a verse from the Pali tradition. And I was curious about the Mahayana tradition. So I had a look at how this practice, recollecting the Dharma, is explained in the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras. So this is how a bodhisattva practices. I won't read the actual words, but just give a summary of it from the commentaries. So the way the bodhisattva practices recollecting the Dharma is they recollect phenomena such as virtuous and non-virtuous and unspecified phenomena and so forth, different phenomena. So they recollect these as not existing ultimately or truly, but as existing conventionally. So a bodhisattva trains in the perfection of wisdom, meaning that they come to see that all phenomena are empty of true existence, ultimate existence, and yet they do still exist on the conventional level. Cause and effect still work, karma still works, so you don't want to, deny that. And they keep this in mind, not only when they're meditating, but at other times as well, when they're doing virtuous practices like giving, living ethically, and so on. So that's quite a profound way of practicing the recollection of the Dharma, keeping emptiness in mind. And if we have some understanding of emptiness, then we can try to incorporate that in our practice of the 6 recollections, and it would be very beneficial. But in a more practical way, I was just thinking, this is my own idea, one way to practice recollecting the Dharma would be to think about our own experiences, do a sort of before and after comparison, what my life was like before I met the Dharma, and what kind of changes have happened since then. Hopefully we'll be able to see a lot of positive changes. That's definitely been my experience. So just see how Dharma has impacted our lives. And our way of living and thinking and feeling and interacting with others, and yeah, hopefully we will say, well, we will recognize that we are now better able to manage our mind and our emotions, that we are less self-centered and more other-centered, more ethical, kind, compassionate, and so on. So I think that reflecting on that, our own personal experience of the Dharma can also bring joy and peace into our minds and clear away defilements and help us have a greater appreciation for the good qualities of the Dharma. And finally, speaking of kindness, I found out recently that this coming Saturday, November the 13th, is World Kindness Day. And this is something that originated in 1998 by the World Kindness Movement. And some countries do observe it, such as Singapore. And that's how I found out about it, because Amitabha Buddhist Center invited me to give a talk for this day. So I did a little investigation into World Kindness Day. And the way we are encouraged to celebrate it is just to, really make an effort to do acts of kindness on that day, either at home, work, school, or out in the public. And people are encouraged to pledge to do at least one intentional act of kindness on that day to benefit somebody else. I mean, of course, ideally, we try to be kind all the time, every day, not just one day of the year. But I do think it's nice that there is one day set aside to focus on kindness and encourage people to make an extra effort to show kindness. And if they do, they'll probably find, oh, this feels good. And then they will want to be more kind every day of the year. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. Thank you.